So next we move to a village called Mukhalingam. Mukhalingam is a village in the Jalumuru Mandal of Srikakulam district. And Mukhalingam is home to three major temples dedicated to Bhagwan Shiva. Talking about the legend of this place and the importance of this place, Sthal Puran mentions that Lord Shiva did his manifestation here in the Madhuka tree to relieve the Gandharvas or the demigods from the curse of Vamdeva Maharshi. Lord Shiva is also worshipped here as Madhukeshwara Swami. Origin of the word Mukhalingam, which is the name of this place, there are various views associated with it. One of the views states that it is a corruption of the word Muhalingam, which is an old Oriya or Prakritic form of Madhukalinga. Another view suggests that the word Mukhalingam is derived from Mudhukalinga, which is a Telugu version of the Sanskrit word Trikalinga. Now the word Trikalinga contains three and Kalinga because Kalinga, this was a major region. This place, Mukhalingam, was a major region during the Kalinga period, and it was divided into three regions, which is denoted by three. So three Kalinga. A brief history of this region. As we know that the region was more or less ruled by the Eastern Ganga dynasties. The rulers of the Eastern Ganga dynasty had the initial capital as Dantapura or Dantapuram as it is known. The founder of Eastern Ganga dynasty, Veera Singha, had 6 children. Out of them, his second son, Danavarna, and his grandson, Kamaravarma II, majorly ruled from this area called Kalinga Nagara or modern day Mukhalingam, while the remaining 5 sons ruled from various other places. Eventually, all the places were moved towards the same center, and that center was Mukhalingam or Kalinga Nagara. Mukhalingam is the present day name. Earlier it was known as Kalinga Nagara. Now, Mukhalingam served as the capital of the Eastern Ganga dynasty kings from 6th century to 12th century AD, a long period. Up to that time, one of the most important kings of the Eastern Ganga dynasty, King Ananta Choda Varma Devaraya, conquered Utkala in 1122 AD and moved the capital to Kodwara Kataka or modern day Katak. Around the early 12th century AD, the Eastern dynasties was ruled by one of the most important kings of this particular dynasty, Sri Ananta Varma Choda Ganga Devaraya, who in 1122 AD conquered Utkala in Orissa or modern day Orissa and moved the capital from Mukhalingam or Kalinga Nagar to Kodera Kataka or the modern day Katak. So from then on, the capital was Katak. The three major temples at Mukhalingam are the main temple, Sri Mukhalingam, which is also known as Madhukeshwara temple based on the history which I described, Someshwara temple and Bhimeshwara temples, all within the vicinity of 200 or 300 meters. So we first talk about the Bhimeshwara temple, which is dedicated to Lord Shiva and which is situated around 100 meters from the main Sri Mukhalingeshwara temple. This temple was constructed by King Vajrahasta II or Anleka Bhima between 974 and 1110 AD estimated. The main striking feature of this temple is the presence of two Nandis in front facing Lord Shiva instead of a normal one. The temple is situated on the banks of river Vamsadhara, left bank of river Vamsadhara basically. And if we look at the architecture of this temple, this is a typical Pidha Deul structure, which is one of the structures under the Kalinga style of architectures of temples. which is again dedicated to Lord Shiva and is situated around 200 meters from the Bhimeshwara temple, or we can say it's situated in the outskirts of Mukhalingam. The temple is very small compared to other two temples at Mukhalingam, but even though it's small, it's an architectural wonder. The temple's walls are filled with iconographies and sculptures, and they are just mind-blowing. The temple was supposed to be constructed between late 9th century and early 10th century by the Eastern Ganga dynasty kings. We are not sure about the name of the kings who built the temple. The architecture of the Someshwara temple is a typical Kalinga Nagara style, but without mandapa and the halls. It represents more of a single Rekhadev style of Kalinga architecture of temples. While the Bhimeshwara temple is an east-facing temple, this is a west-facing temple with a Nandi facing the sanctum and the doors having Ganga and Jamuna iconographies on it. The upper top of the door has Gajalakshmi, above which there are Navagrahas. The upper niches of the temple walls has various iconographies like Mahishashur-Mardini, Kartikeya, Ganesha and Ekapada, while the lower niches has iconographies like Ardhanarishwara and Lakulisa. We now move to the main temple of Mukhalingam, which is Sri Mukhalingam, also known as Sri Madhukeshwara temple, dedicated to Sri Mukhalingeshwara, a form of Lord Shiva. The temple, in simple words, is a masterpiece because of its architecture and the iconographies on the walls. The temple was built by the later Eastern Ganga dynasty kings, also known as Choda Gangas, between 8th and 11th century AD. The dates are very much contested, and the initial look of the temples gives you an impression that it is very similar to the Lingaraja temple of Bhubaneswar, and that is primarily because the architectural style of both the temples are same by the Eastern Ganga dynasties. The Lingaraja temple, of course, is very large compared to this, but this is also a very big temple. The temple was formerly also known as Dakshin Kashi or the Varanasi of South. The copper plate grants of Choda Ganga's colony dating back to 1112 AD suggests that the temple at Sri Mukhalingam, the main temple of Mukhalingam, was constructed by Choda Ganga ancestor Kamaravarma. The dates are still contested. Many say it was 8th century, many say it's 9th century, so there is no particular valid evidence on when the temple was actually constructed. Now, there is a legend behind a huge golem or a huge mud pot which is kept behind the main deity at the sanctum. It is said that a potter named Nagamma, who used to visit for regular prayers to the deity in order to get the blessings from Shiva for having a child, one day decided that he would offer a huge golem or a pot filled with milk to Lord Shiva. But because of the weight of the pot, he could not carry it till the sanctum, and he placed it at the door of the sanctum. The next day when the priest came, he saw that the golem was moved to the back of the Shiva, and after that it is said that through the blessings of Shiva, Nagamma was blessed with a baby later. This is the story behind the huge mud pot which is kept behind the main deity of Lord Shiva. Talking about the iconographies on the walls, this architecture is as I mentioned earlier, this temple is a masterpiece. You will find all sorts of iconographies on the walls. Even apart from Shiva, there are iconographies of various depictions of Vishnu, and even Mahishasur-Mardini, Kartikeya, Ganesha. You will find every possible iconographies on the wall. Gajapati is there in the door jambs. Then the doors are guarded by Ganga and Jamuna. Those iconographies are present in the doors. And then the upper niches have various iconographies, lower niches have various iconographies of various Hindu deities. So this temple is like worth visiting for anyone who is interested in temple iconographies, and a lot to know about things when you visit this temple. Our final destination in this video is the SriKurmam temple or the SriKurmanatha temple at Srikakulam. The temple is dedicated to Sri Vishnu's Kurma avatar and his consort Kurma Nayaki or goddess Lakshmi. The temple is known for ancestor worship. This is globally the only temple which is dedicated to Sri Vishnu's Kurma avatar and is believed to be constructed somewhere in the 11th century CE by the Eastern Ganga dynasties. The architecture of the temple resembles an infusion of the Kalinga style and the Dravidian style of architecture of temples. As per many inscriptions, it is believed that when the temple was constructed, it was known as Sri Kurmeshwara temple and was dedicated to Lord Shiva. However, the inscriptions say that Sri Ananta Varman Chota Ganga Deva of the Eastern Ganga dynasties converted this temple into a Vaishnavite site in 1038 CE. Many legends, however, say that it was the great Hindu philosopher Ramanujam who converted the temple into a Vaishnavite shrine in the 11th century, and since then, this temple, along with the temple at Simanchalam, had been a few of the most popular Vaishnavite shrines. The temple is globally the only temple dedicated to Lord Sri Vishnu's Kurma avatar. The temple is also known as Pitru Kshetra because of the tradition of ancestor worship here. People believe that if they offer their prayers here, their ancestors' souls will be saved. The temple is considered to be one of the most powerful centers of Vaishnavism, and for the Ganga kings of Utkala, the temple was also known as Guru Pitha or the sacred power of the master. The SriKurmam temple is a living example of an architectural gem. The walls of the temples are filled with structural excellence everywhere. There are motifs of all Hindu deities all through the walls of the temples, and the pillars contain yalis, which is very usual in southern Indian temples. An interesting feature of the temple is the presence of two Dhwajastambhas, which is very unusual for a Vaishnavite temple. This gives a slight bit of proof that the temple was originally a Shiva temple. The Sanctum Sanctorum, the top of the Sanctum Sanctorum, is designed in the form of an Ashtadala Padma or a 8-petaled lotus.
Radhe Govind Radhe 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 Govind Radhe 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 Govind Radhe
important thing about the temple is the gopurams of the temple are quite different from the regular gopurams that are built in a typical Dravidian or a Kalinga style architectural temples. Talking about the main deity at the sanctum, Sri Kurmam Swami, it is made of black stone, but due to the application of regular sandalwood, it appears yellow. A typical feature of the deity is that it is west facing. It sits on a platform which is around 5 feet in length, 2.5 feet in width, and around 4 feet long. The deity itself is around 2.5 feet tall and is divided into 3 stones. The top stone represents the head which faces the west, the middle stone represents the body of a tortoise, while the lower stone or the last stone is made of swirling circles and it represents either the tail of a tortoise or the Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Vishnu. The temple contains almost around 201 pillars with unique identities. Apart from that, there are around 127 inscriptions across the entire temple in 4 different languages. This is very massive. This is a very massive count for a temple. One more interesting feature about the temple is the presence of a conservation park, a unique conservation park for the protection of young and adult star tortoises. Originally, the deity, it is said that the deity was facing east when it was a Shiva temple, but because of Ramanuja's prayers, later the deity was turned towards west. Another important unique feature is the presence of the deity over a Gopala Yantra. Talking about the legends associated with the place, there are 3 legends which are prevalent for this area, for this place. One of them has Puranic references. The first legend says that the temple was constructed by King Suta after he did penance at the confluence of Vamsadhara river and the sea on the advice of sage Narada. The second legend says that the temple was constructed by a prince of a place called Anandpuri who fell in love with a divine nymph who was dancing in front of God, and he got cursed by the god. After he did penance for 300 years, after getting the curse, he had a very bad disease for which to get cured, from which he did penance for almost 300 years. After getting cured, he constructed this temple. As per the Puranic legends, the SriKurmam temple spread across a diameter of almost 30 kilometers from Srikakulam to Kalingapatnam, and it flourished along with 5 Panchalinga Kshetras and Ashta Tirthas. It is said that Lord Balarama, when he visited this place, he identified the cosmic importance of this place and he had a darshan of SriKurmam. So he decided that this place be the only place in the world where there should be a temple dedicated to Sri Kurma avatar of Sri Vishnu. And now, normally, why the only temple? Because it is said that Sri Kurma, the darshan of Sri Kurma is allowed only for devtas. Accordingly, Lord Balarama constructed 5 Shiva temples as the Kshetrapalikas for Kshetrapalika temples on the 4 borders of Sri Kurmam temple and 1 directly at the entrance of Sri Kurma temples. After consecrating the idol of the deities in the temple and performing necessary celestial rituals, Lord Balarama finally allowed human beings to enter the temple. The 5 temples that Lord Balarama constructed were the Sri Payakeshwara Swami temple, Sri Someshwara Swami temple, Sri Sangameshwara Swami temple, Sri Mani Nageshwara temple, and Sri Umarudra Koteshwara temple. So this is it for these 2 parts of the video in this series. I am finishing off by just saying that in these 2 parts I have tried to cover the places we visited in our first 5 days of the journey of the 252 days long journey which I discussed in the introduction video. My only request to all of you is to keep following the series, because the places that we visited, especially the ancient temples, will give you and provide you a lot information about the culture and civilization and the tourist places of our country. Thanks a lot to every one of you to have patience and watching the video. Bye.